So we had some really good WNBA basketball to round out the first half of the season as we enter into All-Star Weekend. I want to start with the Minnesota Lynx versus Seattle Storm matchup. You look at the final score and you see the Lynx won by 10 points. And if you didn't watch, you may write it off as like, oh, this was an easy win for the Lynx. No, this was an all-out scrap that went to the final moments, and because of some fouls, the lead was stretched out. But that score is not indicative to how Seattle play basketball, and their record is not indicative to who they are as a team. This is a really good team. And I want to start with talking about Natisha Heidemann. So to clear the air, so to say, because I don't want there to be any confusion. Sometimes I look at the fuller picture without taking into consideration the in-between and what's happening right now. And Natisha Heidemann is playing really great basketball. And she's doing a really good job at taking on more responsibility this season, more so than she had to do in the past couple of seasons. So it's been an adjustment, and she's been productive through it all. So I want to give Natisha Heidemann her flowers. Let her know that it's all love on this side. That said, Seattle has a few players who are coming into this season and getting our opportunity and making the most of it. Another player is Zaya Cook, who's been cooking since she's been able to be in the kitchen. I really love seeing what Zaya Cook has to offer. And Dominique Malonga. Dominique Malonga is another player who is seizing the moments, and it makes us question, should she have played more minutes last season, or were the amount of minutes that she received following up behind an Ezi Magbagor and a Nneka Ogwumike just the right amount of minutes that she needed for the time being? Whatever the case may be, she's playing really good basketball right now. She had 21 points, flirted with the double-double, 9 rebounds. She had 4 blocks. They made it incredibly difficult for the Lynx to get anything inside. Awa Pham is ice cold. Not only is she a presence in the paint, she's impacting the way that the Lynx were able to get their shots off, but she's a stone cold scorer. Once the Storm can find their chemistry, because this is the first season of these combinations, they find their chemistry, they get battle tested, they play more games like this. This was a good game for Seattle to learn from, but they are scary. I didn't even mention Flau'jae yet, who is on her way to being a better pro than she was collegiate athlete. I think her game is made for the pro level. She had big moments on both sides of the ball down the stretch. She's playing all-star level basketball. I can't wait until we can see Flau'jae in the all-star setting. She's just really entertaining to watch and very skilled. Her three-point shot is coming alive more than what I saw it be at LSU. And while Flau'jae has strong moments defensively, I really want her to get her closeouts under control, because she's getting beat at times by flying out on the perimeter, and the offensive player just takes that dribble and creates that space, or she gets a foul. So a bit more body control, but that's going to come with experience. But looking at the Lynx, I was really surprised that they started Napheesa Collier. I don't know why I thought that it was going to be a situation like what we just saw from Atlanta, how they allowed Brianna Jones to kind of reacclimate herself into the system. Fee played the first 3 minutes. You could tell in those first 3 minutes, she was getting her footing. She came back in and scored 17 points in 14 minutes. Napheesa Collier did a lot of things well in this matchup, but I also saw moments that indicated that this is a player still working back. It's going to take some games. The Lynx kind of threw her out there like, girl, you know how to swim. And she showed her experience down the stretch, although she was severely outsized. And I have to say this because I think the league is trending in this direction with the size and strength of the younger players. And I think that is what's making these younger draft class successful. The younger draft classes are successful because they're not taking as much time to be able to compete with that grown woman strength. These players are stronger than before, and that's an ode to the college level trainers. So when you're coming in and you have the size advantage in height and strength, it becomes a matter of the mental game. And this is how veterans will always earn their minutes. They'll always earn their paycheck because sometimes that IQ outweighs the skill. And that's what we saw in this matchup. Nafisa Collier is about 6'1". I think for longevity's sake, she's going to have to increase her handle because once Awa Pham and Dominique Malonga really catch up, it is going to be difficult. And there are few teams in the league that I can say this about. In fact, I could say this about the Mystics. I could say this about the New York Liberty. Size matters. So what you're lacking in size, you can make up for with IQ. But when the IQ and the skill all catch up to each other, it's going to be difficult. I also think that the Lynx were very intentional with getting the ball to Nafisa Collier. At times, I felt like it threw off the offense. I think that Kayla McBride was scoring 26 points a game because Nafisa Collier was not there. They took away an offensive threat. The offense became more focused. Everybody understood their role. That creates more opportunity for your lead scorers. So now that Nafisa Collier is back into the offense, they have to learn to balance the offense again. I will say a few of Nafisa Collier's buckets in that first half were created from her defense. And I think that's a really good way to get back to yourself in the game. So the Lynx are at a point where they're going to have to rebalance their offense again. I think that Seattle was a good test for the Lynx at this point in the season because a more disciplined team may have created a different outcome. But this was perfect for Nafisa Collier to be able to see this type of production in her first game back. That said, big nods to Nia Coffey and Maya Caldwell, who are such strong forces coming off of the bench. They hustle so hard. Maya Caldwell was brilliant off the glass, off the offensive glass. Nia Coffey knocks down exactly when they need her to. So I think the Lynx are in a good spot. Now it's a chemistry thing, and that just comes from more reps. Overall, this was a strong game for both of the teams. A lot of good things to look at as they go into All-Star Weekend and regroup, reset, maybe step away from the game and zoom out again. But what are your thoughts, Hoops Tribe? What do you think about this matchup? Let's talk hoops.